GM,
AGM.
buddy. Welcome to our Y2K Finance first community call. Really glad to see everybody here. My name is Doomsy. As you've seen me in Discord, I'm the community and marketing lead here. I also have several core team members besides me. So we've got Cripwalk, Last Oracle, Harry, Miguel, and Andre. And if you guys could just quickly go around, give a short little intro and what you currently do for Y2K, that'd be great. Just introduce yourself to the community.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and get started. I'm Cripwalk. I'm one of the founders. I'm the business lead for the project, involved in internal policy, partnerships, and marketing strategies.
Hey guys,
I
I'm
guess
Joel. You go ahead, Harry. You go ahead.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I'm Harry. I'm at Y2K since August, initially doing front end, but then I took over the tech lead in December, so now I'm doing tech lead at Y2K.
Yeah, I'm Dre. Most of my work is around financial engineering, designing new vaults, some of the roadmap stuff, as well as the original Earthquake product.
Hey guys, my name is Miguel here. I built the initial Earthquake product, smart contracts developing in early stages. Now I'm focused on maintaining the Earthquake product and see how this is going.
GM Community. I'm Last Oracle. I am mainly working on the product roadmap and the operations. Nice to have you all here.
All right, great. Thanks
We can't-
everybody for
We can't
those
hear you, by the
intros.
way, Oracle.
All right, I thought you could hear me. Just give me a second. Do you hear me now?
Yeah, you're coming through just fine.
All
I
right.
think I heard your intro, but go ahead.
All right, cool. Yeah, so you didn't hear my intro or you heard my intro, Tomzi?
We did. I think we're good, but we can hear you now clearly.
It was the clip. All right, cool.
Okay. Kripwalk is joining again. Let me add him. But yeah, thanks for everybody who gave those intros. A lot has happened since we first released the white paper back, or I believe 4 or 5 months ago. And so a couple of things have been the IFO, which happened end of October. We had two significant depegs with MIM USDT during that first to second week of November, which was crazy. And then just in December, near the end, we had our TGE. And in the middle of all that, we had a lot of drama with FTX and just everything in crypto and TradFi going kind of crazy. So just kind of looking backwards on the journey, we've come a long way. And I wanted to ask the team just what they look back on and what were some of the highlights for them and some of the challenges. So if anyone wants to speak to that, please come, speak up.
Yeah, I'll take a stab at it first. So like initially, kind of when we conceptualized Y2K as a whole, Earthquake was just like a proof of concept to see if there was really demand for kind of these markets around pegged assets, and it was very honestly surprising, kind of like the immediate demand that we had, and that was like a pretty good surprise for us. But then also once we did have those depegging events, to see that the contracts worked as we intended was also pretty good for us to let us know that they're kind of battle tested in a sense where if a depegging event happens, there's an instant payout as we intended, and those things are executed on the spot. And I guess the hurdles that we face now is just since it was a proof of concept, looking to now kind of mature the contracts, mature the product, and improve all the little UX and UI bugs that we have currently in that system.
Yes, I will take it from here. Yeah, so basically I can really just attach myself to that statement. it was really amazing to see how like there was how Off-Peak worked, and it really found demand. And then now I'm really excited for building out the UX of Earthquake, making it more user friendly, extending all of the functionalities that the community wants, and making it a real money Lego in the DeFi ecosystem. And yeah, I mean, on the hurdles we had, I mean, we were really thinly spaced on the engineering side, on the engineering resources. We have a bunch of things planned and a bunch of things going on. So it took us a little bit to really get everything in order, but now we are ready to like ship and improve. And it's really fun knowing that we built on a product that works.
Yeah, I can like just add quickly to what Harry said. From the very beginning, we also, once we launched the Earthquake, the main challenge was putting everything together, eliminating the bugs that were reported continuously. Hopefully, it was one of the things very good was we didn't have any major bugs that affected core of the system. That was a pretty comfortable scenario for us. But then once we figured all the major bugs that are affecting the user experience, and towards the end of this month, once we close all of these bugs, we are going to start working on building up a totally new user experience for the user. So that's where we are trying to go after completing all the hurdles we have.
Yeah, I thought I could chime in here and maybe ask Andre, how did this sort of idea come to be? And what sort of, when you're thinking about Earthquake initially, what sort of issues or problems were you looking to solve? And how do you think we've done on that so far?
Yeah. When Sammy and I were writing the white paper, it was actually April last year when the first thoughts of this came to be. It was an interesting call. A bunch of us were on it. We were talking about, how can you solve, there was a lot of FUD at the time around algo stables. Terra was still a thing. UST was going strong, but there were still whispers out there about, potential for a collapse and how someone can manipulate it and all kinds of other things all over Twitter, all over like forums, Discord, whatever. And I remember Sammy and I were talking about this and saying, there are a bunch of solutions out there providing insurance. There was Nexus protocol, if I'm not mistaken. A couple others that, just protocols that would allow people en masse to underwrite certain risks with a pretty decent level of centralization. And we were saying, why isn't there like an actual market for this? And back then we were talking about credit default swaps actually, and how, if you have synthetic bonds, basically, you're able to build all kinds of other stuff in DeFi on top of that. And that was sort of, where the original idea came from. It ended up pretty quickly morphing into, hey, why don't we create these vaults that are more or less knockout binary options, and just let the market price everything. And that was kind of a key differentiator for us, where it was like, well, all these people are saying all kinds of varying things. Let's give them a place where they can put their money where their mouth is. And if someone really believes in the stability of a stable coin or a pegged asset, then they can go and actually earn quite a bit of yield from all the people that don't believe in it. I mean, quote unquote yield, right? You do risk losing your entire principal if you're wrong. And yeah, like it was probably April, and then in May we saw Terra collapse, and we thought, wow, it would have been awesome if we had this out already, right? We put out the white paper around that time, very, very quietly. It wasn't posted all over Twitter or anything like that. We were trying to be as strategic as possible, but we were floating the idea around. And in those days, Miguel was writing up all those original smart contracts, and it was pretty interesting. We were watching the collapse of an entire ecosystem that depended on a stablecoin while we were designing a marketplace for people to go and trade these sentiments. Now, like that being said, like what we've released is rather primitive, and from the very beginning, we had much bigger ideas than what Y2K is right now. And as Kripwalk had mentioned, like this was a pretty nice proof of concept, but I think you guys are going to be pretty excited to hear about what's next in this space.
So yeah, I definitely think that's a great reminder of just what the original vision was, what types of problems it was trying to solve. And so that being said, looking forward on the roadmap and what we have in the future, are there any things that the team would like to share, what they're most excited about, and what sort of improvements will be brought to the table?
I'm sure I can go ahead. Well, we have a really cool people in the partnership team. So there's a bunch of cool stuff happening on the partnership side, or collaborating with different DAOs to create certain markets. You probably, if you follow our Twitter, you probably got some hints which exciting markets are going to follow soon. But besides that, we of course want to improve the UX of Earthquake. We want to extend the insurance period and make the deposit period way more simpler and automated, so that really there's not much on the user side to do. And this will of course like build on top of Earthquake as an audited smart contract that works as it should be. And so we will be building on top of this fundament, and there's a lot of stuff to come, which will greatly enhance the user experience. And then, of course, on the front end, like web dev side, we're gonna provide a bunch of metrics, a bunch of data for the users to really know and price the insurance or the vaults correctly. And we want to make it as easy as possible for the user, and really, like I said earlier, try to establish ourselves as a money lender on the broader DeFi ecosystem.
Someone's asking about Earthquake V2. I think I'm going to jump in and give you guys a bit of alpha. Well, we're actually working right now on transitioning the current Earthquake vaults into perpetual binary vault. That being said, if you want to underwrite risk, you can go ahead and deposit and set and forget and withdraw whenever throughout epochs. The current structure actually only protects you for 5 out of 7 days, or allows you to trade 5 out of 7 days. There's 2 days that are, basically deposit periods where there's no active epoch. And from a UX perspective, it should be quite a bit nicer to have things open all the time, being able to deposit whenever you want and being able to withdraw whenever. So if you want to deposit for several epochs at a time, you can go ahead and do that. As Harry mentioned, there will be automated ways to go and start paying premiums to start, to just be covered over. Let's say you think there's going to be a DPEG in the next 3 months. The current Earthquake Vault makes you have to deposit, pretty religiously once a week, and then you miss 2 out of 28% of the days, right? If that DPEG occurs during the deposit period, you don't really get that protection. Earthquake V2 will solve this. You'll have 24/7 protection if you want to go and bet on a DPEG. And it'll be a lot easier to use. And from a tradability standpoint, if you want to, this will make Earthquake actually not Earthquake, should make the secondary market, Wildfire, quite a bit better when it comes out, because you'll be able to trade, like traditional, like more of a traditional like trading environment, really, right? Like where your 1155 doesn't expire in a week. It represents a position that can just go on forever until a DPEG occurs. And overall, pretty excited about this. It'll be a completely new primitive within DeFi. I mean, what we have right now already is, but this will be something more. It's something that hasn't been seen yet, and we've worked out the math. It will work. It just comes down to building it now, and that's what we're working on. So, yeah, happy to take questions on that if anyone has any, but pretty excited for it.
Wow, yeah, that was definitely quite a bit of alpha. Really appreciate you sharing that, Andre. If anybody else, like Cripwalk, if there's any highlights of what you're excited about coming up, anything you can share, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think Andre just gave him enough alpha for now. So yeah, very excited about V2 as well.
Great.
On top
Go
of that,
ahead.
maybe Domzi, I can give a few upcoming features that community was requesting for a while. One of them is we are developing our markets page where we are going to aggregate all the markets retrospectively, actively markets on a single page where users can see relevant information regarding their positions and the markets, and where they can automatically redirect it to the selected earthquake vault from that markets page. This is one of the features coming pretty soon. Another one is we are developing a dashboard page which is split into two. One of the sites is going to give wallet specific information to the user about the total earnings in terms of epochs, in terms of risk hedge sites. And on the other side, of course, we are going to also provide P&L information. And also, when it comes to the market side, we are going to show the users overall earthquake statistics, including the retrospective asset prices and retrospective asset prices, strike prices over the period of epochs. And also, we are going to give information regarding the TVL, regarding the risks hedge side split of the TVLs per epoch or per asset type, so they can make more educated deposits on the mint side.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is there's going to be a lot of improvements to the user experience, whether it's displaying information, being able to have things a little bit more organized, and definitely some step changes when V2 comes out as well. That being said, behind the scenes, there's been some yips that have recently been proposed and passed. And they bring a couple of changes that I believe our team wanted to talk about. So, Krip, if you wanted to touch on those, that'd be really great.
Yeah, for sure. So we had our YIP3, which kind of creates a strategic asset management committee or a treasury committee that will be whose task to be to de-risk assets received by the treasury, which is like the WETH fees that we get every epoch, to increase the capital efficiency of the treasury, and also to facilitate distribution of the fees to VO Y2K holders, and also facilitate DAO-to-DAO treasury swaps. So it allows us to do a lot of different kind of treasury management stuff within this treasury management committee. And then the YIP4 was to kind of update our liquidity mining emissions. So since the IFO ended, we've been kind of distributing about 33,000 Y2K tokens per weekly epoch, and we've significantly reduced that. And now we've also turned on Y2K emissions for VL Y2K lockers. So this year, about 2.6 of the total supply of Y2K, which is about roughly 500,000 Y2K tokens, will be emitted linearly to VL Y2K holders. And then about 4% of our total supply, which comes up to 800,000 Y2K tokens, will be emitted linearly through the Earthquake vaults, which comes out to about 66,000 Y2K tokens per monthly epoch.
Yeah, hopefully everybody caught that. But if you go to our snapshot, then you can see what recently passed. Essentially, we've got some treasury management in place now. Going forward, with about 5% of our treasury, and also, the reduced emissions in half, which is definitely significant.
Exactly.
That being said, we are now at the AMA portion. So ahead of time, we've asked people to submit questions, and these are all community member questions. So we've gone through some of them, and we've got about 6 to 7 that I thought that we could go through together as a team. And if anybody else has any additional questions, feel free to drop them in the text. We'll try our best to get to those. But that being said, we'll just go through some of the questions now and sort of have a conversation together as much as we can. So the first couple questions have been asked by a few people on the same topic. So thanks, Skeleton, Turtleback, and Bobber. We're curious what sorts of assets we have planned. Specifically, they were curious about the ST ETH pair. They were also curious about LSDs that are trending these days, if we're looking at that. And in general, how do we decide which new assets to onboard and create new vaults for?
So I could take a crack at this, and then others like Harry and Drake come in to help me out. But in terms of the SC ETH pair, we're working on kind of like an Oracle solution for that because the SC ETH Oracle isn't live on Arbitrum. So we're kind of creating a custom solution that allows us to query that. And we're hopefully optimistic that we'll be able to roll that out on the platform within the next 3 or 4 epochs. And then in terms of other LSDs, again, the biggest constraint to like adding any kind of LSDs or anything like that to the platform is just having the oracles natively be on Arbitrum, and also making sure like there's enough liquidity where it's pretty difficult to kind of manipulate the pegs. And then in terms of how we decide, I can touch a little bit on how we decide some of the assets that come onto the platform. The first kind of consideration is security. Again, that's making sure that it has a Chainlink Oracle or a reliable Oracle solution. It has deep enough liquidity where it takes a significant amount of capital to actually try and manipulate that asset. We also look at kind of the kind of risk profile of the asset, and if that creates a demand for users to want to take out hedges or protect themselves against depegging events for that asset as well. And then feeling out the demand of new assets from demand from the community members, either through the Discord and also through the Twitter. Feel free to help me out. Anybody else on the panel?
No, I think you got it right. I think the biggest also charges is, like you said, the oracles, and then of course like the liquidity, how easy it is, how easy it would be to manipulate these oracles. I think these 2 factors are the biggest contributing factors.
The direct question was asked when STE, and we've seen some leaks around that. Can any team members comment on that aspect?
Yeah, like I said, like 3 to 4 epochs, kind of we feel pretty confident that within, I guess that puts us within the next 3 to 4 weekly epochs. So within the next month, we're pretty confident that we'll have the SE vaults up and running on the platform.
Awesome. So just moving on to a couple of our next questions. So we have a community member named Okra SF, and they were curious if from a very high level standpoint, we could sort of clarify, are we trying to be more insurance or betting is their question. So they've seen different vernacular around hedging stablecoin positions. That sounds more like insurance. And then betting on DPEGs, that sounds more like, speculation. So does the team have any thoughts of where we lie along that spectrum?
I'm happy to take this one. So I've I spent a lot of time actually working in TradFi derivatives for some pretty large institutions, and in general, there's no difference. Think about options, for example. In general, like stock options. What do? You get supply side liquidity from companies hedging employee bonuses at the end of the day, right? That's where the majority of call options actually come from. Anyone issuing convertible bonds as well, you have a ton of supply side liquidity for options coming from that. And then, those are generally call options, but then the put options end up getting a ton of liquidity out of that just from put call parity. But then what does retail use options for? They use them for betting, don't they? You can extend this to basically any financial derivative. So, like, to answer your question, we're a derivatives marketplace centered around pegged assets. And you can use derivatives for anything you want. You can use them for insurance, you can use them for hedging, you can use them for betting, right? Options are one example, but look at swaps, interest rate swaps, for instance. If you're a company issuing debt in a different currency than your native currency, that like all your operations happen in, you're going to want to do a cross-currency swap to hedge your FX and interest rate risk across currencies. Meanwhile, some other hedge fund will go and see that you displaced the market. Like some hedge fund will come in and say, hey, look, these cross-currency basis spreads are really cheap or really expensive based on these issuances that just happened. Why don't we go and bet on this? And they'll go and even out the market on that side. So in order for a derivatives marketplace to exist, you need people that are hedging and getting insurance, and you also need people that are betting. Without both of those, it can't really exist. So yeah, like they don't have to be mutually exclusive. And one mistake we found a lot of protocols making is that they like to draw a line in the sand here and kind of distinguish themselves based on like some narrative. But you should really call it for what it is. They're all derivatives in the end of the day, and you can use derivatives for whatever you like. The same way that we're not pricing the risk in these assets, we're also not telling you how to use them. Like, we're just providing a place for you to do whatever you like with these pegged assets. So yeah, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
Great answer. So it sounds like somewhere in the middle or both is what we can say. So not one or the other.
Yeah, they're not mutually exclusive. It's just derivatives.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So we've got another question from a community member named Seth, SEF. He's wondering, what is our general plan and strategy to bring in more TVL, potentially on the monthly vaults, which are a little more underutilized compared to weeklies? Do we have any thoughts on that question right there?
Earthquake V2.
Yeah, I think Earthquake V2 kind of that would solve the problem of the user experience around the deposit periods. You'd be able to kind of 24/7 participate in the markets. You'll have extended coverage, which should incentivize more people to take out coverage. And then also we'll be adding some pretty interesting assets, right, that we think will also increase the demand on the platform as well for hedges.
Yeah, I also want to highlight that, we have an amazing partnership team, and basically there is need for this product for different Libra protocols, and I think there will be something where basically we enable certain users to use our product basically through a partnership. So I think that's also will be quite significant.
Any specific partnerships we want to highlight, or do we want to kind of keep that under wraps at this moment?
I think we'll be making some announcements shortly. I think Dre's already spilling up for today, so just keep watching the Twitter and the Discord. I think you'll hear some big names very soon.
Absolutely. So just kind of rounding out our AMA, we've got a few small questions that were asked in the chat that I just wanted to see if our team wanted to address. But so Alaris is asking, around via Y2K emissions, when that might start. I was wondering if we could help answer that question for him.
The YIP has just passed, so I think that will be starting because the rewards are lagging by one epoch. So it would probably be in 2 epochs that the via Y2K emissions will start.
Perfect. We have time for maybe one more audience question. If anybody who's in the audience wants to, write something in the chat, feel free to give it a go. If not, we do have one or two other questions that we could answer ourselves that have been pre-submitted. So Turtleback, who had a question earlier as well, he was asking about the bribing system that we teased. They're just wondering in general how this might work. Is there anything that we can share regarding the mechanics or anything like that?
I think when it comes to bribing, first you have to be in a position to get a gauge on balancer, and that's just something that we're not in a position to do yet. So we wouldn't have those details until kind of we're in that position to have a gauge and then kind of start bribing as well.
All right. Well, I think that concludes the end of our AMA session. Just want to thank everybody for submitting these questions ahead of time and for attending today's event. We definitely hope to have more of these panels with our core teammates and other guests potentially in the future as well. We're looking to do this potentially once a month, so please do look out for the next event. And yeah, just want to thank everybody for attending today. Hope you guys have a good rest of the day.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
See you guys.